things up.
And we're live. Talking about amping things up. This is why wells fail. With our favorite old man. What are you? You a mud guy? What are you, Lloyd? How do I refer to you in the vernacular?
You know, I am. I'm really good. However, I'm catching my breath from a dynamic weekend. I was not in equilibrium this weekend. I was in disruption in Las Vegas. Went and saw Sebastian Maniscalco and then the Eagles and celebrated my bride's birthday. So Monday is coming out of disruption and in dynamic equilibrium. Sometimes a little uncomfortable.
There we go. Look at it all coming together. He's learning how to. We got to connect the dots. We got to do the teasers. Dynamic equilibrium. We all want to get there. Life is full of ups and downs. We've always got tension. And dynamic equilibrium is in an organization. It's downhole. And what it provides for us, at least with the refined process, is a way to go from guessing what's the best way to approach birthing this well, nice and healthy, to knowing the process. So, Lloyd, what I'm curious about, in all the years you've been doing this industry, when did you start feeling confident about the knowing process, moving from guessing to knowing? How did it make you feel?
It feels great, but here's the thing. You only know what you know at the time that you're there. And then as you continue to add failure and successes and what you learn through each part of it, you get more confident. And it's the tools that you have available, right? And so, and then it's perspective of I've always been an event-driven person in my life, which means that you go through a lot of peaks and valleys. And you're having to take steps back because you didn't have a guide, you didn't have a path to follow. And so it's great having more clarity on where I'm going, where our company's going, than some of it being just haphazard. So and that gives me a lot more confidence.
So you got experience. You've encountered many situations. The technology is kind of catching up, and now you're able to use AI and collect a lot of data. You're able to start auditing these wells or taking a sampling and do some pre-testing that is going to give you clarity on how to approach a successful production of that well, right? That you've got a lot more in play now than you used to.
Absolutely.
You got a patent to verify it.
Yeah. And what it's funny is it hit me. The patent is the constant. It's not just one thing within it, but it's the knowledge and the validation of the ability to measure the mechanisms of failure. I mean, and that it is sound science. It is completely novel and unique, and that it's really the cornerstone of building upon. And then we still got more to do, but we've got a firm foundation.
Where I'm going with this is that the folks that you work with, they're been in the guessing area, and now they're meeting refined in your team, and they're learning that there's a different way to go about this, and so they're making a transformation as well, having a little more confidence about business decisions that are being made around this well. What are proper expectations? I think that's exciting.
It's really exciting. I don't know if you've ever done any mountaineering, back in the day, 25, 30 years ago when I elk hunted, we had a compass, we had topographical maps, and we had radios. And that's how we hunted. We learned the terrain. We got a lot of knowledge of the terrain. And then this thing came up called a GPS. And then you started taking all those tools, and you started laying the GPS over that. And at some point, it's kind of like the book of maps. When I was early in sales, I had an Oklahoma map, I had a Texas map, I had a Kansas map, I had a New Mexico map. And I mean, if you were going somewhere, you had to have a map. And then lo and behold, these unbelievable, first GPS mapping system, and then the maps in the mapping system weren't that good, and you got lost and got stuck in a neighborhood that if you're using your real maps, you wouldn't have, right? So you develop the tools, you gain trust in them. And really, ultimately, that's where we're at this point in time. We were doing a presentation this morning. It didn't hit me till afterwards. We've taken the process of the analytical process of understanding what the disruption is, what happens in fracking, and how to maximize the return on a well from being utilizing maps and a compass and getting close, but never being completely on target, right?
Yeah.
And today, because we have all of these inputs and we've built a mapping system that we trust, that we put within our algorithms, and then you take all the factors that have to align or should align. If you have an outlier, then you're missing some data, right? If all of the tools aren't pointing to the same way to provide the dynamic equilibrium, we have more work to do. That's why we do so much testing after the completion of a well, is because the water and then the oil end up telling us, hey, is our GPS good? Or do we need to do some adjusting? Is there, did we end up in Lubbock versus Amarillo?
So
in most cases today, you end up where you are, and it's just you have to be good with it.
Yeah.
You could be in Muleshoe, and there's just not a lot in Muleshoe, Texas. Anybody out there? I'm not disparaging Muleshoe, but it is kind of out in West Texas, kind of not a lot there. But that's how I'm looking at it. Is that's what our process does. It's taking the knowledge of numerous people, years of experience in building a pond, like Dr. Mike Conway at STEM Lab. He's a guy that we stand on his shoulders a lot. So we've taken all of these learnings, these compounding learnings of multiple people, we put them into a process, and we've gone from just using a compass to see if we're going true north to using a GPS system to really targeting, it's like those bombs that we dropped in Iran, right? I mean, they all went almost in the same hole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're doing with our process. We're making sure that the path that we're going on is the path we intend it to.
So what challenges did you face, or you and your team face, integrating these advanced tools?
Well, it takes number one is it's a commitment from our customers to get the cuttings during the drilling of the well. There's guesswork. If, let's say, you have a 2-mile lateral and you have 8 samples, are you really getting the representation of what that wellbore looks like versus, in a 2-mile lateral, you may have 65 different stages of completion, and you get 65 samples and you do the work on 65, you're getting a better picture. You're going from using rabbit ears on a TV, and a lot of people probably don't even know what that is, to going from cable. Now you're using Wi-Fi. You've got the ability to communicate at a lot higher level, and that's what we're doing.
So I imagine the folks that you're working with, all of a sudden the light bulb's starting to go off in their head as well, and they're starting to learn you trust your system, but also have a little more confidence. Tell me about how they're responding to that.
It's been phenomenal, and we've gained new relationships that are now they're in the place. Hey, they've given us trust. Rule number one, we're earning their trust. We're doing the work up front and post completion to validate and continue to help them learn what we've become highly competent at. Right? We've done our 10,000 reps, and now we're helping others do that as well.
So what impact have you seen on the wells now that you're able to take this process? What are some of the outcomes that you're realizing?
A lot of validation. When you start, one thing is on the prediction of what we're going to see in the water coming back and how long it's going to take us to see first oil. How much when it's compared with an offset well, what is the difference in the water? What's the difference in the acid gases that are produced, CO2 and H2S? What are the differences in the comparison? And they've been stark and dramatic. And the decline curves that we're seeing on the production are a fraction of the decline curves that are generally seen in an unconventional resource. And again, that comes down to the mechanism of failure. And, we were really blessed. We have a great relationship with the customer that during COVID, his company went out of business, but we had done a lot of work with him right up to that. And he said, hey, you need to go back and look at these wells. I was doing studies using, at that time, Smart Chemicals chemistries, which are still foundational in what we do today in refine. And so we went and pulled that up. Enverus is a phenomenal resource. We're able to go look at the now going on 6 years worth of production off of these wells, and it parallels the results that we saw. These were Eagle Ford wells. It parallels with the results that we've seen in Howard County and the rest of the Permian Basin. And one of the things is our process gives you back more total fluid over the life of the well. And I had a question the other day from a company we're visiting with, and they're like, that's going to increase my lease operating expense. And I'm like, it is. But do you want to make your producing well a disposal well all at the same time? Because that's ultimately what's happening is if the water stays on the rock and it never is returned, you're taking and you're mitigating the displacement of the hydrocarbon that you're trying to get. That water staying there doesn't allow the oil to come back out. You have to have both of them. And so total fluid is a really big indicator. And it's a consistent indicator that we've seen now going on, 10 and 11 years from when we started with the shell guard, magic bullet, we thought, and then continuing to learn on that. No, it's a balance of all of these, and them being tuned to the right ratio for the geology.
So on those declining curves, when you lay them over other, what's the excitement about that? It seems like,
well, it's phenomenal. Number one is it's the Eagle Ford study. Those wells at $60 oil have made about $7 million more over their life than the pure wells that didn't use our process. And this was an intentional study done by, his name's Bill. He did what a gift for him to just come up and say, hey, you guys got something special, and I want you to go look at it, and giving you a list of wells that we validated that, those chemistries were there. target zones are the same. Completion packages are the same with the exception. I mean, he really did a great targeted study, and those continue to validate exactly what we've seen before.
So the fluid, I was kind of surprised that you're having a conversation with someone that was putting the fluid back in the hole.
Well, they're not putting it back; it's staying there.
So they weren't even taking it out.
So they couldn't get it out, it's trapped. That's one of the mechanisms of failure, Stephen. That was something I really started looking at. How many mechanisms of failure we have, then how many different ways do we measure that mechanism of failure? And right now, our process is looking at 243 different variable outcomes for every geology we test and through all the processes we take them through. 243.
Wow.
And when you look at that, it's through a multiple of analytics, but each one of those analytics tell you a little bit of different piece, and you have to take and put the whole picture together. It's kind of like a puzzle, and you can't see it until you put it all together. And if you only have the corner of the puzzle, it's telling you something different than the whole picture, right? And we've lived a lot of years as an industry thinking that corner was our true north, was the right destination. But when we get the full map out, the full puzzle, you're like, oh my gosh, it's all the way over here.
243 potential outcomes of, depending on which. So,
that's right. So that's 3 to the 5th power.
So with that many, it's like almost guaranteed that you're going to birth a well that's not producing at max.
Well, that you have. I mean, there are some constraining things that happen that you can't mitigate. You can diminish the impact, but you can't mitigate it. And so this is really the way that I see, we've optimized everything we can above surface. The time that it takes to drill a 3-well lateral today, a 3-mile lateral today, is maybe 15% of what it was 8 years ago. In the numbers of days and the efficiency and the ability to steer it and land it exactly where we want it. And the same thing with the number of stages, or the linear foot stages of a well that we can frack in one day versus what we could do. We've created as much efficiency, the old saying, the low hanging fruits, the stuff we've got now is way up in the tree. Well, our process is way up in the tree, and you've got to have a way to know how to go pick that fruit. And the optimization really now is how do we get more out of the resource that we already have? Because unfortunately, we've left a lot of oil in place. Now, one thing, you've heard it here first. We are reverse engineering a process that once that disruption has occurred, how do we go repair that disruption knowing what we do today? And so we're working diligently to get the ability to do a re-stimulation frac on an existing well to heal the damage that was done. We'll never get all the way there, but we definitely can liberate more hydrocarbon from an active asset today.
So your comment about we've optimized everything kind of above ground, And those processes make sense to me. Your technology improves things, you get better and better and better. And the expectation that downhole would be the same. And that's what you guys are finally bringing to this part of the conversation.
That's correct.
We're moving from guessing to knowing. In the same way that we're fracking better and more accurate, we're getting optimization of these wells and keeping them in dynamic equilibrium. To me, that's really exciting. Is, literally you're in the dark down there, and you guys are bringing a lot of things to light.
Absolutely.
So you've had some successes lately with other clients that have seen the light, so to speak. Tell us what you can about that.
It's hard to speak for them, but the feedback has consistently been the level and depth of understanding that you're bringing about our own resource. And they have most of these companies have great scientists on staff, and even consultants, but the ability to put all of these different factors together is what makes it very unique. And in many ways, it's that missing link, it's that one thing, and you see it and then you can't unsee it. And that's really, I think, probably what's been the most impactful as we've walked through our relationships and helping create that, that awareness, I think.
Yeah.
So that's been the thing, I think, bringing additional awareness in a place that at one point everybody was comfortable with where they were. That's the other side of it is, right? You got to get uncomfortable to learn.
Yeah, so true. Reminds me of skiing. The first time I was going downhill, it was out of control. Then later you're just a little bit more in control.
Right? Gravity's a law.
It's more fun. So a lot of people, you're having a lot of good conversations, and I imagine as people listen to these, and we're getting good feedback on these conversations. How do they connect with you, Lloyd? What's the best way to strike up a combo?
Well, I'd love to hear from Lloyd.Brown at refinecompletions.com, and through our social media platforms is great too, or our website, as you've got pulled up here so conveniently for us. And I appreciate that, Steve.
Why wells fail? Pretty soon, why wells heal? Huh?
Yeah,
You kind of tease that.
yeah, we'll pivot on that one.
Yeah. All right, Lloyd. Another great conversation. For oil completion teams, it's kind of cool to have better insight into what's going on and birth a good well, produce more hydrocarbon, keep your promises to your shareholders, your stakeholders, and keep listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Why Wells Fail.
Thanks, sir.